Welcome to Brain Snacks, bite-sized learning moments from We Are Human Leaders. In today's Brain Snack, mindfulness expert and researcher Megan Reitz shares with Alexis and Sally her advice on how we can create more spaciousness in our increasingly busy and complex world. She shares the 5 fundamental pillars for spaciousness and some practical insights to begin using these to escape the busyness hamster wheel in your own life. For more, check out the full conversation, Escaping the Busyness Trap with Megan Reitz at the link in our show notes. For now, enjoy. Where do we begin if this is something that we want to invite into our lives and into our leadership?
Yeah. So the very first thing to say is that nothing happens unless there's a level of awareness that there are these different modes of attention in the first place. So the very first thing, and the thing that we're really aiming at with our research, is to allow people to notice the busyness pattern, to notice the obsession with doing, to realize what kind of else is there and what else is possible and what they might be missing with the spacious mode, and to give it language. So to give it language that's credible enough to survive in the corporate setting. So that's the very first thing, is like, pause, what's happening here? And very often that, as I said, that is quite a scary question. So it can be quite helpful to have somebody else help you with that. But in our research, again, with full irony acknowledged about the spacious and the doing mode, we've come up with an acronym that spells SPACE, which is for those people saying, okay, Megan, enough of this. What do I do? What do I have to do to create space? So S stands for safety. So I guess this is particularly relevant, in our team setting at work, but also from an individual perspective. When we feel unsafe, we narrow our perception. So our attention goes much more narrow. So how do we create a sense of safety at work? That's most of my research the last 10 years is in something called Speaking Truth to Power. And it's how we examine things like power and status and authority, and how that creates situations where we're often quite fearful and then we can't enter this spacious mode. So there are, and please do ask me some more detail in some of these, but I'll briefly go over the acronym. So there's stuff around physical, personal, mental safety. P stands for people. So as I've mentioned a couple of times, when we open up space, it can be a little bit disorientating, a bit anxiety provoking. But there are people that can help us. We all know people that are somehow able to help us to pause, look up, look around in a way that we can still be engaged. And in the workplace, of course, that might be facilitators, coaches, mentors, therapists, colleagues, friends. So these people in our lives that just help us get into this sort of more spacious mode. Make sure we hang around with them. Try not to hang around so much, especially on social media, with groups that narrow our attention. So that's the people one. A stands for attention. We can train this. You'll know, as mindfulness practitioners, there is a lot we can do with training our attention, and yet we don't. We leave it up to chance, which is still one of the most remarkable things I just don't understand why we all leave our attention up to chance. But there's also things in that block which is around metrics. What do we measure? Because what we measure tends to sort of shine a torchlight in a particular direction, and then everyone's attention goes there. So we need to examine, what are we measuring? What are we setting for ourselves? Is that the wisest thing to connect with success? And the final thing in attention, there's quite a lot in attention. There's things that we call speed bumps. So in a very packed and busy day, what are the small little speed bumps that we can initiate, whether they're a quick walk outside, whether they're a stare out the window if you don't even have time to walk outside. They're little occasions that are just enough to pause and help us to reorientate. C stands for conflict, which is a really interesting one. And by this, we don't mean relationship conflict. We mean dissonance. So something that kind of wakes us up because it's different. And that could be the environment, that could be a person, that could be reading a book, that could be suddenly going on a sabbatical or spending time with a customer or a stakeholder, that's enough for us to kind of go, oh, hang on a second, things are a little bit different than I had experienced in my narrow perspective. And the final one, E, is environment. As you mentioned in your examples earlier on, the physical environment has a huge impact on the way that we think and the way that we feel. And so we are still remarkably uncreative at work in terms of where and how we run our meetings. So the difference, for example, between, sitting in our office, if we're lucky enough to have one, and having a conversation versus going for a walk outside for 45 minutes and having the conversation with somebody that way. The difference it makes between face-to-face or virtual, all these little decisions around environment affect the conversation that we have and affect the attention that we can give it. And yet, as I said, ironically, we don't actually pay attention much to the environment that we're in. So those are 5 things that we've written about in much more kind of detail with examples, but they are some stuff that I hope will keep those of us that are wanting to do stuff busy for a little while.
We hope you enjoyed this brain snack from We Are Human Leaders with Alexis and Sally. To learn more about this topic, check out the full conversation at the link in our show notes. And to learn more about human leaders, find us at www.wearehumanleaders.com.